The moment she slipped her hand into mine across that crowded restaurant table, everything changed. Not because anyone else noticed. Not because the lies suddenly became believable. But because for the first time in 3 years, I forgot we were pretending. The warm pressure of her fingers felt natural. Comfortable. Dangerous. And when I looked up and saw her smiling at me across the candlelight, a smile meant only for the performance we had agreed to put on, my heart reacted in a way it never should have. That was the moment I realized I had made a terrible mistake. Because the woman pretending to be my wife wasn't a stranger. She was my roommate. And I was already falling in love with her. Before we begin, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the unexpected ways love finds us, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone special, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring more emotional stories like this to life. 3 years earlier, my life had looked very different. I had moved to the city with dreams that felt much bigger than my bank account. I worked long hours as a freelance graphic designer, taking every project I could find. Most months were a battle between rent and groceries. Some months I lost. The apartment I rented was old, cramped, and located above a noisy convenience store that never seemed to close. When my landlord announced a rent increase, I knew I couldn't survive alone anymore. That's how Emma entered my life. She answered my advertisement for a roommate. At first glance, she seemed completely different from me. She was organized where I was chaotic. Optimistic where I was cautious. Confident where I constantly doubted myself. She worked as a nurse, often returning home exhausted after 12-hour shifts, yet somehow she always found the energy to smile. The arrangement was supposed to be temporary. Just two strangers sharing expenses. Nothing more. But life has a funny way of rewriting plans. Months turned into years. We learned each other's routines. She discovered I couldn't cook anything without burning it. I learned she secretly cried during emotional movies and then pretended she had something in her eye. We celebrated promotions together. Survived financial struggles together. Shared countless late-night conversations in our tiny kitchen. And somewhere along the way, the apartment stopped feeling like a rental. It started feeling like home. The problem was that I never allowed myself to imagine anything beyond friendship. Emma was beautiful, kind, intelligent, and completely out of my league. Besides, risking our friendship felt reckless. If things went wrong, we'd lose not only each other but also the life we'd built. So I buried my feelings. Deep. Or at least I thought I did. Everything changed because of one phone call. My grandmother called one Sunday afternoon. She lived several hours away and rarely asked for favors. That day, however, her voice sounded unusually excited. She informed me that she was celebrating her 80th birthday and expected the entire family to attend. Then she delivered the news that made my stomach drop. For years, I had avoided telling relatives that I was still single. Small lies had accumulated over time. Nothing major at first. Just harmless attempts to avoid uncomfortable conversations. Eventually, those lies evolved into a fictional serious relationship. And somehow, according to my grandmother's understanding, I was now practically married. The birthday dinner would include dozens of relatives. Everyone expected me to arrive with my wife. I spent the next hour panicking. There was no way to explain years of deception without disappointing my grandmother. When Emma came home that evening, she immediately noticed my stress. After listening to the entire story, she laughed so hard she nearly dropped her bag. I didn't find it funny. Then she surprised me. She offered to help. At first I assumed she meant helping me create an excuse. Instead, she volunteered to pretend to be my wife for one evening. The suggestion was ridiculous. Completely absurd. Yet the more we discussed it, the more practical it seemed. One dinner. One harmless performance. Then life would return to normal. At least that was the plan. The day of the birthday celebration arrived faster than expected. Emma appeared in a simple blue dress that somehow made the entire room feel brighter. When she stepped out of her bedroom, I actually forgot how to breathe. For a brief moment, I understood how dangerous this arrangement truly was. She looked exactly like someone I could spend the rest of my life with. The drive to my grandmother's house felt strangely quiet. Both of us seemed nervous. Both of us understood that we were stepping into unfamiliar territory. The performance began the moment we arrived. My relatives welcomed Emma with open arms. My grandmother adored her instantly. And Emma played her role perfectly. She remembered names. Asked thoughtful questions. Listened to family stories as though she'd known everyone for years. Watching her interact with my family felt surreal. The evening should have been simple. Instead, it felt strangely real. Too real. At dinner, my grandmother asked us how we met. Emma glanced toward me. Without hesitation, we created a story together. Each detail flowed naturally. Each answer built upon the previous one. We laughed. Shared memories. Finished each other's sentences. The entire room believed us. What frightened me most wasn't how convincing we seemed. It was how much I enjoyed it. For years I had imagined introducing someone special to my family. I had simply never imagined that someone would be Emma. As the evening continued, something shifted. The line between performance and reality became blurred. Every smile felt genuine. Every glance carried unexpected meaning. Every shared laugh awakened feelings I had spent years trying to ignore. Then came the moment that changed everything. After dinner, we stepped outside for fresh air. The night was cool and quiet. Stars filled the sky. The sounds of the party faded behind us. For several moments neither of us spoke. Then Emma looked at me. Not as my roommate. Not as my fake wife. Just as herself. Her expression softened. And in a voice barely above a whisper, she asked a question that stopped my heart. Why does this feel real? The world seemed to freeze. I searched for an answer. None came. Because the truth was terrifying. It felt real because somewhere along the way, I had fallen in love with her. And judging by the uncertainty in her eyes, perhaps she was struggling with the same realization. Neither of us said anything else. We returned to the party. Finished the evening. Drove home. And spent the next week pretending nothing had happened. That week was torture. Every interaction felt different. Every silence felt louder. The comfortable friendship we had always shared suddenly carried invisible tension. I wanted to tell her how I felt. Fear stopped me. What if I misunderstood everything? What if she regretted asking that question? What if I destroyed the most important relationship in my life? Then life delivered another challenge. Emma's father suffered a serious health emergency. She rushed to help her family. Stress consumed her. Hospital visits replaced normal routines. Financial worries piled up. The cheerful woman who always supported everyone else suddenly needed support herself. For the first time, our roles reversed. I drove her to appointments. Cooked terrible meals she politely pretended to enjoy. Stayed awake listening whenever she needed someone to talk to. I wasn't trying to impress her. I simply couldn't stand watching her carry everything alone. Weeks passed. One evening, after another exhausting hospital visit, she fell asleep on the couch. I covered her with a blanket. As I stood there watching her rest, a realization hit me. Love wasn't grand speeches. It wasn't dramatic moments. It wasn't pretending to be husband and wife. Love was wanting to ease someone's pain. It was choosing them every day. It was showing up when life became difficult. And I loved her. Completely. The next morning, I decided I couldn't stay silent any longer. Regardless of the outcome, she deserved honesty. So did I. That evening, I asked if we could talk. The nervous look on her face told me she already knew. We sat at the kitchen table where we had shared hundreds of conversations before. Yet this one felt different. Important. Life-changing. I admitted everything. The feelings I had hidden. The fear that kept me silent. The reason that dinner felt so real. When I finished speaking, silence filled the room. For a moment, I thought I had made the worst mistake of my life. Then tears appeared in her eyes. And she smiled. Not the polite smile she gave strangers. Not the cheerful smile she used to brighten difficult days. A real smile. The kind that reaches the soul. She confessed she had been feeling the same way for longer than she wanted to admit. The dinner hadn't created those feelings. It had simply revealed them. Both of us had been hiding behind friendship. Both of us had been terrified of losing what we already had. Neither of us realized the other was equally afraid. The months that followed weren't perfect. Real relationships rarely are. We faced challenges. Disagreements. Moments of uncertainty. But we faced them together. And somehow, together made everything easier. A year later, I returned to my grandmother's house. This time there were no lies. No pretending. No performances. Just truth. When I proposed to Emma in the same backyard where she once asked why everything felt real, she cried before I even finished speaking. My grandmother cried too. Honestly, so did I. Today, years later, Emma and I still laugh about the strangest beginning of our love story. A fake marriage. One dinner. One question. And a truth neither of us was ready to face. Sometimes the people meant for us aren't found across oceans or in crowded cities. Sometimes they're already sitting across the hallway. Sharing rent. Sharing life. Waiting for us to realize what our hearts already know. Before we reach the end, I'd love to ask something special from you. Please comment below, have you ever fallen in love with someone who was already a part of your everyday life? And if this story touched your heart, made you smile, or reminded you of someone special, please like the video, share it with others, leave your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. Your support means more than you know. Because sometimes love doesn't arrive like a thunderstorm. Sometimes it enters quietly. It grows through ordinary days, shared struggles, late-night conversations, and small acts of kindness. And one day, without warning, you look at someone you've known all along and realize they were never just part of your story. They were the person you were always meant to write the ending with. And that is exactly why some of the most beautiful love stories begin with a simple question that changes everything forever.